Commander Thyra Velkos stood before the massive star map in her command chamber. Her 4 eyes moved slowly across the glowing display, tracing the borders of known space until they reached a region marked in solid black. No stars, no routes, no information. Just darkness and a simple label that made even the bravest soldiers look away, the void of no return. For 300 years, the Vorath Dominion had sent ships into that region. Scout vessels, spy drones, even armed patrols. 47 missions in total, and not a single ship had ever come back. No distress signals, no final transmissions, no wreckage floating in space. They simply vanished, as if the darkness itself had swallowed them whole. The High Council believed they knew the answer. Humans lived in that space, and humans, according to every report and rumor, were monsters. Predators who hunted anything that entered their territory. Creatures so savage that they left nothing behind, not even bones. Thyra had grown up hearing the stories. Every Vorath child learned to fear human space before they learned to walk. The tales spoke of a species with only 2 eyes, but vision that could pierce through lies. Beings who felt no fear and showed no mercy. Hunters who turned every stranger into prey. She had believed those stories once. She had no reason to doubt them. But 12 years ago, her younger brother Valdris had been assigned to a scout ship heading into human territory. He had smiled at her before he left, promising to return with proof that the humans could be defeated. That smile was the last memory she had of him. He never came home. Now, Thyra stood in command of the largest fleet ever assembled for a mission into human space. 5 warships, 200 crew members. Enough firepower to destroy a small moon. The High Council had grown tired of mysteries. They wanted answers. And if those answers required burning human worlds to ash, then so be it. Her second in command, a scarred veteran named Corvith, entered the chamber and stood beside her. He looked at the black region on the map and made a low sound in his throat. It was not quite fear. Vorath soldiers were trained to suppress fear from the moment they were born. But it was close. "The fleet is ready, Commander," Corvith said. "All ships report full combat status. Weapons charged. Shields at maximum. The crews have made their peace with the ancestors." Thyra turned to face him. "Made their peace? You speak as if we are already dead." Corveth met her gaze without flinching. 47 ships have entered that space. 47 ships have disappeared. The High Council chose us for this mission because we are expendable, Commander. You know this as well as I do. They do not expect us to return. They simply want to know what killed everyone else before it kills us too. It was a harsh truth, but Thyra could not argue against it. The Dominion did not waste valuable resources on suicide missions. The ships in her fleet were old. The crews were either veterans, too stubborn to retire, or conscripts too poor to buy their way out of service. None of them had powerful families to protect them. None of them would be missed. "Then we will make our deaths meaningful," Thyra said quietly. "If humans are the monsters the Council believes them to be, we will confirm it. And if they are something else entirely, we will be the first to discover the truth." Corveth nodded slowly. "And what truth do you hope to find, Commander?" Thyra was silent for a long moment. She thought of Valdris, his smile, his promises, the empty space he had left in her life. "I do not know," she admitted, "but I intend to find out." 2 hours later, the fleet made its final preparations. Crews ran through combat drills one last time. Engineers double-checked every system. Soldiers wrote final messages to loved ones who might never receive them. The air throughout all 5 ships was heavy with tension and something that might have been grief. Thyra walked through her flagship, the Crimson Fang, observing her crew. She saw fear in their eyes, despite their training. She saw resignation. She saw the look of beings who had accepted their fate, but hoped for something more. She wished she could offer them comfort. But in the Dominion, commanders did not comfort their soldiers. They commanded. They punished failure. They rewarded success. Emotions were weakness, and weakness meant death. When she returned to the command bridge, all 5 ships reported ready. The jump coordinates were locked in. The void waited on the other side, dark and hungry and full of secrets. "All ships," Thyra announced through the fleet-wide channel. "This is Commander Velkos. In a few moments, we will jump into territory that has claimed every vessel sent before us. I will not lie to you. I do not know what we will find. But I know this. Whatever waits for us, we will face it together. We are Voroth. We do not run. We do not surrender. And we do not disappear without a fight. Prepare for jump." The countdown began. 10 seconds. 5, 3, 2, 1. Reality twisted around them as the ships tore through the fabric of space itself. Colors that had no names flashed across the view screens. The universe screamed in protest. And then, just as suddenly as it began, everything went still. They had arrived in human space. Thyra immediately scanned the surrounding area, expecting weapons fire or incoming missiles or the burned hulls of destroyed ships, but there was nothing. Just stars and silence, and a small gray moon hanging in the distance. "Report," she ordered. "All ships full sensor sweep. Find me something." The seconds stretched into minutes. Her crew worked frantically at their stations, searching for any sign of danger or life or the fate of those who came before them. Then her sensors officer made a sound that Thyra had never heard from a Vorath soldier. It was somewhere between a gasp and a cry. It was the sound of someone whose entire understanding of reality had just shattered. "Commander," the officer whispered, "I have found the missing ships. All 47 of them." Thyra leaned forward. "Show me." The main view screen flickered and changed, and Thyra felt her blood turn to ice. The transponders from all 47 lost vessels were arranged in perfect orbit around the gray moon. Not scattered, not destroyed. Arranged deliberately like markers in a memorial. And every single one was still transmitting, broadcasting the same message over and over again in perfect Voroth language. "We're safe. Do not rescue us. We are safe. Do not rescue us." Corveth stepped beside her, his voice barely a whisper. "Commander, what does this mean?" Thyra stared at the screen, her mind racing to understand the impossible. 47 ships had come here to die, and instead they had left behind a warning that made no sense at all. "Do not rescue us." "I do not know," Thyra said slowly, "but I intend to find out." And somewhere in the darkness of human space, something was watching them, waiting, ready, to reveal a truth that would change everything the Vorath believed about humanity, a truth that none of them were prepared to face. They jumped into human space and finally learned why none ever returned part. To Thyra ordered battle stations immediately. Every weapon on every ship powered up within seconds. Shields hummed at full strength. Soldiers rushed to their positions, ready to fight whatever trap the humans had prepared. The strange message continued playing on every frequency. "We are safe. Do not rescue us." It made no sense. The Vorath did not leave warnings like this. They did not tell their own people to stay away. Something was very wrong here, and Thyra trusted nothing about this situation. "All ships maintain formation," she commanded. "If anything moves toward us, destroy it without hesitation." Corveth stood beside her, his hand resting on his sidearm. "Perhaps the humans captured our people and forced them to record that message. A trick to lower our guard before they attack. It was a reasonable theory. The Dominion used similar tactics against their own enemies. Make them feel safe. Make them curious. Then strike when they least expected it." "Possible," Thyra agreed. "We will assume nothing and trust no one." But before she could give another order, her communications officer spoke up with confusion in her voice. "Commander, we are being hailed. 3 vessels approaching from the planet below. They are requesting to speak with us." Thyra's muscles tensed. "Warships." "No, Commander." The officer checked her readings twice, as if she could not believe what she was seeing. "They appear to be transport vessels. Unarmed, No weapon signatures at all. And their messages ... friendly. Friendly. Corveth almost laughed at the absurd word. Display it. The main view screen flickered, and a face appeared. It was a human. Thyra had seen drawings and descriptions before, but seeing one alive was different. The creature had soft brown skin, 2 small eyes, and dark hair on top of its head. It smiled at them with a warmth that seemed completely inappropriate for a first contact with armed warships. "Welcome to Allied Space," the human said in perfect Vorath language. "My name is Captain Sarah Chen of the Terran Hospitality Corps. We detected your arrival and wanted to offer assistance. Do you require medical aid, supplies, or directions to the nearest station? We are here to help." Silence filled the bridge. Every Vorath stared at the screen as if the human had spoken in a language they could not understand, which, in a way, she had. The Vorath did not offer help to strangers. They interrogated them. They conquered them. They destroyed them if necessary. The idea of greeting armed foreign vessels with kindness was so alien that no one knew how to respond. Thera found her voice first. "This is Commander Thyra Velkos of the Vorath Dominion. We are here to investigate the disappearance of 47 of our vessels. You will explain what happened to them immediately." Captain Chen's expression did not change. She kept smiling as if Thyra had just asked about the weather. "Of course, Commander. The crews of those vessels are alive and well. They chose to remain in Allied space rather than return to Dominion territory. We can take you to meet them if you wish." Chose to remain. The words hit Thyra like a physical blow. Vorath soldiers did not choose anything. They followed orders. They served the Dominion. They returned home, or they died trying. The idea that 47 crews had simply decided to stay in enemy territory was impossible. It had to be a lie. "You expect me to believe that our soldiers abandoned their duty willingly?" Thyra demanded. "That they betrayed the Dominion without a single one attempting to report back?" "I expect you to believe nothing," Captain Chen replied gently. "I only offer you the truth. What you do with it is your choice. We have learned that Vorath citizens are not often given choices. Perhaps that is why so many decide to stay once they discover they have one." Corveth leaned close to Thyra and spoke quietly. "It is a trap. They want us to lower our guard. We should open fire immediately," but Thyra hesitated. Something about the human's words bothered her. Not because they seemed false, because they felt true in a way she did not want to admit. The Dominion did not give its citizens choices. Obey or die. Succeed or be executed. Serve or suffer. Those were the only options any Vorath had ever known. What would happen if someone suddenly offered a third path? "I will investigate personally," Thyra announced. "One ship will accompany me to the station you speak of. The rest of the fleet will remain here. If we do not return within 6 hours, they will assume we were killed and respond accordingly." Captain Chen nodded. "That seems reasonable. Please follow us, Commander. I think you will find the station ... educational." The journey took less than an hour. Thyra watched through her viewport as the human transports guided her ship toward a massive space station orbiting a blue-green planet. The station was unlike anything in Dominion space. It was bright, colorful, ships of dozens of different species docked at its ports, coming and going freely without military escorts or checkpoint inspections. When Thyra stepped onto the station itself, she nearly stopped breathing. Vorath citizens walked through the corridors. Not soldiers. Not prisoners. Ordinary people, dressed in civilian clothes, talking and laughing and eating at small restaurants that lined the main pathway. Children ran between the adults, playing games that Thyra did not recognize. No one wore chains. No one had control collars around their necks. No one looked afraid. "This is impossible," Corveth whispered beside her. "They must be slaves, trained to act happy for visitors." But even as he spoke, Thyra could see the truth. These people were not acting. The relaxation in their shoulders, the light in their eyes, the casual way they touched each other in greeting. This was not performance. This was genuine peace. A female Vorath separated from the crowd and walked toward them. She was older than Thyra, with gray streaks in her scales and lines around her 4 eyes that came from years of smiling. She wore a simple apron covered in food stains, and she looked at Thyra with recognition. "Commander Velkus," the woman said warmly, "I hoped you would come someday. My name is Drella Voss. I was ensigned Drella Voss, assigned to the first scout ship that entered human space." "That was 40 years ago." Thyra stared at her. 40 years. You have been here for 40 years? I have lived here for 40 years, Drella corrected gently. There is a difference. In the Dominion, I existed. I survived. I obeyed and feared and waited for death. Here, I learned what it means to actually live. Why did you not return? Thyra demanded. Why did none of you send word? Drella's smile turned sad. Send word to whom? The High Council that would have executed us for failing our mission. The families who would have been punished for our supposed betrayal. We could not go back, Commander. And after a while we did not want to. She reached out and took Thrall's hands in her own. The touch was warm, gentle, completely unlike anything Thyra had ever experienced from another Voroth. We did not die here, Commander. We were reborn. And the life we found is worth more than anything the Dominion ever offered. Drella paused, and her eyes grew soft. Your brother Valdris is alive. He asked me to bring you to him. Thyra felt the universe shift beneath her. Feet Valdris. Alive. After 12 years of grief and anger and silent prayers to ancestors, who never answered, her brother was alive and everything she believed about humans was about to change forever. They jumped into human space and finally learned. Why none ever returned. Part 3, Thyra followed. Drella through the station in a daze. Her mind struggled to process what her eyes were showing her. Every corridor brought new impossibilities. Every face challenged everything she had been taught since birth. A Voroth male sat at a small table, reading from a tablet, while a human child climbed onto his lap. He laughed and adjusted the child's position without any sign of discomfort or fear. Nearby, 2 Vorath females discussed something in animated voices, their hands moving freely as they spoke. No guards watched them. No officers monitored their conversation. They simply talked, like free beings with nothing to hide. How is this possible? Thyra whispered. Humans were supposed to be predators. Monsters. They were supposed to kill everything that entered their space. Drella smiled sadly. That is what the Dominion wants its citizens to believe. Fear keeps people obedient. If Vorath knew the truth about humans, they might start asking dangerous questions. Questions like why the Dominion treats its own people worse than humans treat complete strangers. Corveth walked beside them, his hand still on his weapon, his eyes scanning for threats that never appeared. This could still be a trick, a long game. They fatten you up with kindness, and then they harvest you when you are no longer useful. I have been here for 40 years, Drella replied patiently. When exactly does this harvesting begin? My children were born here. My grandchildren play in these halls. If the humans plan to harm us, they have had plenty of opportunity. Instead, they gave us homes, jobs, education, freedom. Freedom. Corveth repeated the word like it was foreign to his tongue. In many ways, it was... The Vorath language had a word for freedom, but it was rarely used. Most citizens went their entire lives without ever experiencing what it meant. Drella led them to a quieter section of the station. The corridors here were lined with plants and soft lighting. Doors led to private quarters where families lived. Children's drawings decorated some of the walls, bright colors and happy images that would have been considered wasteful in Dominion territory. They stopped before a door marked with a simple nameplate. Valdris Valkus. Teacher. Thyra's heart pounded in her chest. 12 years of believing her brother was dead. 12 years of mourning. And now she stood just a few steps away from him, separated only by a thin metal door. Drella touched her shoulder gently. Take your time. I will wait here. Thyra pressed the door chime with a trembling hand. The door opened and there he was. Valdris had aged. His scales had faded from bright blue to a softer shade, and lines marked his face that had not been there before. But his 4 eyes were the same. His smile was the same. The way he tilted his head when he saw her was exactly as she remembered Thyra, he said softly. You finally came. She could not speak. Emotions she had been trained to, suppressed since childhood, rushed through her like a flood. Grief, joy, anger, relief. They crashed together until she could barely breathe. Valdris stepped forward and wrapped his arms around her. In the Dominion, such contact was forbidden between adults. It was considered weakness. But here, in this impossible place, Thyra found herself holding her brother tightly and not caring about rules anymore. I thought you were dead, she managed to say. For 12 years I thought you were dead. I know. Valdris pulled back to look at her face. I wanted to tell you. Every day I wanted to send a message, but any communication would have endangered you. The Dominion would have labeled you a traitor by association. I could not risk your life to ease my own guilt. They moved inside his quarters. The space was small but comfortable, filled with books and artwork, and signs of a life well lived. Thyra noticed a picture on the wall showing Valdris surrounded by children of multiple species, all smiling at the camera. You are a teacher, she said, looking at the image. Valdris nodded. I teach refugee children. Many of them come from places as cruel as the Dominion. Some have never known kindness before arriving here. I help them understand that they are safe now, that no one will hurt them again. Thyra sat down heavily on a chair. Her mind still struggled with everything she was seeing and hearing. How? How did you go from being a Dominion scout to... This Valdris sat across from her and spoke quietly. When my ship entered human space, we expected to die fighting. Instead, we were met by vessels like the ones that greeted you. They offered us food, medicine, a place to rest. At first, we thought it was a trap. We waited for the torture to begin, but it never did. He paused, remembering. Days passed, then weeks. The humans asked nothing from us. They demanded no information about the Dominion. They made no threats. They simply treated us like guests who deserved respect and care. It was the most terrifying thing I had ever experienced. Terrifying? Thyra asked. Because it made me question everything, Valdris explained. If humans were not monsters, then why had the Dominion told us they were? If strangers could show us more kindness than our own government, then what did that say about our government? I started asking questions I had never dared to ask before. He leaned forward, his voice intense. Thyra, when was the last time you made a choice that was not driven by fear? The question hit her like a blade. She opened her mouth to answer, then closed it again. She thought about her life in the Dominion. Every decision she had ever made was based on avoiding punishment. Join the military or face poverty. Follow orders or face execution. Succeed or face shame. Fear was the only motivator she had ever known. I do not know, she admitted. I do not think I ever have. Valdris nodded sadly. That is how the Dominion controls us. Fear is their weapon. But humans showed me something different. They showed me that beings can choose to help each other without expecting anything in return. They can build communities based on trust instead of terror. They can live without constantly looking over their shoulders. Before Thyra could respond, her communicator beeped urgently. Korvath's voice came through, sharp with alarm. Commander, you need to return to the ship immediately. Long-range sensors have detected a massive fleet jumping toward this system. 50 warships bearing Dominion identification codes. Thyra's blood turned cold. 50 ships? That is an invasion force. The High Council must have grown impatient, Korvath said grimly. They are coming to retrieve their lost soldiers, or destroy everyone who chose to stay. Valdris stood up quickly. His face had gone pale. If the Dominion attacks this station, thousands will die. Not just Vorath refugees, but humans and dozens of other species who call this place home. Children live here, Thyra. Innocent people who have done nothing wrong. Thyra looked at her brother. Then she looked at the picture on his wall. All those smiling children. All those lives that would be erased if the Dominion fleet opened fire. I have to return to my ship, she said. The fleet will expect me to join the attack. Valdris grabbed her arm. And will you? Will you help them destroy everything we have built here? It was the most important question anyone had ever asked her. And for the first time in her life, Thyra realized she had a choice. A real choice. What she decided would change everything. They jumped into human space and finally learned why none ever returned part. For Thyra rushed back to the Crimson Fang with Corveth close behind. The station had transformed from a peaceful haven into a hive of urgent activity. Alarms echoed through the corridors. Families gathered their children and moved toward shelter zones. But there was no panic, no screaming. The people here had prepared for this moment, even if they had hoped it would never come. When Thyra reached her command bridge, her crew was already at battle stations. The main view screen showed the approaching Dominion fleet, 50 warships in tight formation, their weapons hot and ready. It was enough firepower to reduce the station and everything around it to scattered atoms. Commander, her communications officer reported, the Dominion flagship is hailing us. Admiral Krath Dominus demands an immediate response. Admiral Dominus. Thyra knew the name. He was one of the High Council's most ruthless enforcers, known for burning entire colonies that showed signs of disloyalty. If he was leading this fleet, the Council had no intention of negotiating. Put him through, Thyra ordered. The screen flickered, and Admiral Dominus appeared. He was old and scarred, with dead eyes that had watched countless beings die without feeling anything. When he saw Thyra, his thin mouth curved into something that was not quite a smile. Commander Velkos, I see you survived your mission. The Council will be pleased. Now you will join our formation and assist in the cleansing of this human nest. We will recover any Vorath citizens who can be rehabilitated and destroy the rest along with their human collaborators. Thyra kept her voice steady. Admiral, I have investigated the situation here. The missing crews were not captured or killed. They chose to stay. They are living peacefully among the humans. Chose. Dominus repeated the word with disgust. Vorath do not choose to abandon their duty. They were clearly corrupted by human influence. Their minds have been poisoned. We will cure those who can be saved and execute those who cannot. This is the will of the High Council and the humans. The other species living here? The children. Acceptable losses, Dominus said coldly. The message must be clear. No one leaves the Dominion. No one escapes our reach. Fear is the foundation of order. Without it, civilization collapses. Thyra looked at her crew. They were watching her, waiting for orders. Many of them had family members who had disappeared over the years, sent on missions they never returned from. She could see the question in their eyes. The same question she was asking herself. What are your orders, Commander? Corveth asked quietly. The fleet is waiting. Thyra thought about her brother. About Drella and the restaurant she had built. About the children playing in the corridors and the drawings on the walls. She thought about the human captain who had greeted them with kindness instead of weapons. And she thought about the life she had lived until now. A life controlled entirely by fear. She made her decision. Admiral Dominus. She said calmly, I must respectfully decline your orders. Silence fell across both ships. Even her own crew stared at her in disbelief. No one declined orders from the High Council. No one. Dominus leaned forward, his dead eyes suddenly sharp. You dare to refuse? You will be executed for treason. Your entire crew will be executed. Your family back home will be sent to the labor camps. Think carefully about what you are saying, Commander. I have thought carefully, Thyra replied. For the first time in my life, I have actually thought about what I am doing instead of simply obeying. And I have realized something, Admiral. The Dominion has lied to us. Humans are not monsters. They welcomed our lost soldiers and gave them lives worth living. The only monsters in this system are the ones preparing to slaughter innocent people to protect a lie. She turned to her crew and raised her voice. I am making a choice today. I am choosing to protect the people on that station instead of destroying them. I am choosing freedom over fear. Any member of this crew who wishes to follow me is welcome. Any who wish to return to the Dominion may take escape pods and leave immediately. I will not force anyone to share my fate." For a long moment, no one moved. Then slowly, one by one, her crew members rose from their stations. Not to leave, to stand with her. "We are with you, Commander," her weapons officer said. The others nodded. Korve stood last. His face was troubled, but his voice was firm. "I have followed you into death before. I see no reason to stop now. Besides, my sister disappeared on a scout mission 15 years ago. Perhaps she is still alive somewhere on that station." Thyra turned back to the view screen. "Admiral Dominus, my fleet will not assist your attack. Furthermore, I am broadcasting a message to every ship in your formation. They deserve to know the truth before they commit murder in the name of lies." She opened a channel to the entire Dominion fleet. "This is Commander Thyra Velkos speaking to all Vorath vessels. Before you fire a single shot, I need you to see something." She transmitted the recordings she had made on the station. Vorath citizens living freely, children playing, families reunited, former soldiers who had found peace instead of death. The footage played across 50 warships, showing thousands of Dominion personnel, something they had never imagined possible. "They did not die here," Thyra declared. "They escaped. They found a place where fear is not the only currency, where beings help each other instead of controlling each other. The humans welcomed them, protected them, gave them the freedom that the Dominion never will. And now the High Council wants to destroy all of this to keep us afraid, to keep us obedient, to keep us blind to the truth." She paused, letting her words sink in. "I am not asking you to fight. I am not asking you to die. I am only asking you to choose. For once in your lives, make a real choice. And ask yourselves, do you want to go back to being slaves? Or do you want to learn what freedom feels like?" Admiral Dominus cut through the channel with fury in his voice. "Ignore this traitor. All ships prepare to fire on my command. We will burn this entire system." For 30 terrible seconds, nothing happened. Then, on Thyra's tactical display, something miraculous began. One Dominion ship broke formation. Then another. Then 5 more. Captains across the fleet were responding not with weapons fire, but with messages. Messages asking about missing brothers, sisters, parents, children. Messages asking if the footage was real. Messages asking how to defect. "What is happening?" Korveth whispered. Thyra watched as the Dominion fleet crumbled before her eyes. Ships peeled away from Admiral Dominus's formation, their crews overwhelmed by hope they had never been allowed to feel. In minutes, the 50-ship armada had split in half, and less, until fewer than 20 vessels remained loyal to the Admiral. Human ships emerged from behind the station, forming a defensive line. But they did not fire. They simply waited, offering protection without aggression. A human captain appeared on Thyra's screen. It was Captain Chen from before, still smiling despite everything. "Commander." "Velkos, thank you for giving them a choice. We knew this day might come. We prepared for battle. But we always hoped it would end with people coming home instead of dying." Thyra felt something she had not experienced in years. It took her a moment to recognize it. Hope. "This is not over," she warned. "Dominus still has enough ships to cause tremendous damage." "Then let us finish it together," Captain Chen replied. Not with hatred, but with truth. The final battle was about to begin. But for the first time, Thyra believed they might actually win. They jumped into human space, and finally learned why none ever returned. Part 5. Admiral Dominus screamed orders at his remaining captains. His face had turned dark with rage, his composure completely shattered. Nearly 30% of his ships had abandoned him in minutes. Centuries of Dominion discipline, broken by a single broadcast showing something the High Council had tried desperately to hide. Their people were alive. Their people were happy. And their people had chosen to stay. "All loyal vessels, open fire," Dominus commanded. "Destroy the station. Destroy the traitors. Leave nothing but ash, The 18 remaining Dominion warships surged forward, weapons charging. They were still a formidable force, enough to cause tremendous destruction before they could be stopped. Thyra watched them approach and felt her heart pounding. All ships' defensive positions, she ordered her small fleet. Protect the station at any cost. But before her vessels could engage, something unexpected happened. The human ships moved first, but not to attack. They positioned themselves directly between the Dominion fleet and the station, forming a living shield of metal and courage. Captain Chen's voice came through the communications channel. Broadcast to everyone. Admiral Dominus, we have no wish to destroy you or your crews. Those soldiers are victims of the same system you serve. We ask you to stand down. Allow your people the chance to choose their own fate. This does not have to end in death. Dominus laughed bitterly. You think mercy makes you strong? It makes you weak. It makes you prey. The Dominion has conquered 100 species because we understand what you do not. Fear is the only language the universe respects. Then let us teach you a new language, Chen replied calmly. The human ships opened fire, but not with weapons designed to kill. Electromagnetic pulses struck the lead Dominion vessels, overloading their systems and leaving them dead in space. Precision shots disabled engines without breaching holes. Targeted strikes destroyed weapons arrays while leaving life support intact. Thyra watched in amazement. The humans were fighting to capture, not to kill. They were disabling enemy ships while preserving the lives aboard. It was a form of combat she had never seen before. They are insane, Corveth muttered beside her. Fighting without intent to kill? This is not war. This is rescue, yes, Thyra said quietly. That is exactly what it is. The battle lasted less than an hour. One by one, the remaining Dominion ships fell silent, their systems disabled, their crews trapped, but alive. Some captains surrendered when they saw the fight was lost. Others continued resisting until their vessels were completely neutralized. But not a single ship was destroyed outright. Admiral Dominus's flagship was the last to fall. Human boarding teams cut through the hull and moved through the corridors with weapons set to stun. They encountered fierce resistance from the Admiral's personal guards. But even these loyal soldiers eventually fell. Thyra requested permission to be part of the team that captured Dominus himself. Captain Chen granted it without hesitation. She found the Admiral in his command bridge, surrounded by unconscious guards, still standing despite everything. His eyes burned with hatred as she approached. Traitor, he spat. You have doomed yourself. The High Council will send more ships. They will never stop hunting you. Thyra looked at the old warrior and felt something she did not expect. Not anger. Not satisfaction. Pity. Perhaps they will, she agreed. But every ship they send will see what I have seen. Every soldier will learn what I have learned. Fear only works when people believe they have no choice. Once they discover the truth, your empire will crumble from within. She offered him her hand. You can be part of that discovery, Admiral. You can see for yourself what humans have built here. Or you can spend the rest of your life in a comfortable cell, remembering the glory of a dominion that is already dying. The choice is yours. Dominus stared at her hand like it was a weapon. For a moment, she thought he might actually take it. Then his expression hardened, and he turned away. I choose nothing, he said coldly. Take me to your prison. Thyra nodded slowly. Some beings were too broken by fear to accept freedom, even when it was offered. But others could still be saved. In the days that followed, the captured Dominion crews were given the same choice that had been offered to every scout ship before them. They could return to Dominion space if they wished, carrying messages of what they had witnessed. Or they could stay in Allied space and build new lives among the humans and their allies. Most chose to stay. Thyra stood on the observation deck of the station, watching transport ships carry former prisoners to new homes on a dozen different worlds. Beside her, Valdris smiled at the sight. You did something remarkable, he said. You gave them hope. That is something the Dominion could never understand. The humans did the hard work, Thyra replied. They built this place. They protected it. I just told the truth. Sometimes the truth is the most powerful weapon of all. A month later, Thyra delivered a broadcast that was transmitted across every frequency powerful enough to reach Dominion space. She stood in front of the station, surrounded by former Vorath soldiers who had chosen freedom, and spoke directly to the citizens she had left behind. My name is Commander Thyra Velkos. The High Council will tell you, I am a traitor. They will say I was corrupted by human influence, that my mind was poisoned, that everything I am about to say is lies. But I ask you to listen anyway and decide for yourself what is true. She paused, gathering her thoughts. For 300 years, the Dominion has told us that humans are monsters, that anyone who enters their space is killed instantly, that there is no escape, no hope, no future beyond our borders. But I have seen the truth with my own eyes. Humans are not monsters. They are teachers, healers, protectors. They welcomed our lost soldiers and gave them something the Dominion never could. Freedom. Her voice grew stronger. None of our people returned because, for the first time in their lives, they found a place where they were more than tools, more than weapons, more than slaves. They found a home where their choices mattered, where their lives had value, where fear was not the only currency. She looked directly into the recording device. That home has room for you, all of you. If you are tired of living in fear, if you dream of something better, if you want to know what it feels like to make your own choices, then come. Jump into human space. I promise you, we will be waiting with open arms. The broadcast ended. Thyra did not know if it would change anything. The Dominion's grip on its citizens was strong, and generations of conditioning could not be erased with a single message. But over the following months, ships began arriving, scout vessels that were supposed to confirm her execution, transport ships carrying families who had risked everything to escape, even a few military officers who could no longer stomach serving an empire built on lies, and humans greeted every single one of them the same way they had greeted Thyra. Home. Thyra stood on the observation deck, watching another group of refugees disembark from their vessel. Children clutched their parents' hands. Elderly Vorath blinked in confusion at the bright lights and colorful walls. Soldiers still in uniform stared at the station like they were dreaming. Valdris joined her, carrying 2 cups of something warm. He handed one to his sister and smiled. Keep coming, he said. More every week. It will keep coming, Thyra agreed. As long as the truth survives, hope survives with it. She watched a human volunteer kneel down to offer a stuffed toy to a frightened Vorath child. The child hesitated, then slowly reached out and took it. A small smile crossed her face. Thyra thought about the journey that had brought her here. The fear, the doubt. The moment when she had finally chosen to believe in something beyond survival. They had jumped into human space expecting death. What they found instead was something the Dominion had never taught them to recognize. Hope, and for the first time in her life, Thyra Velkos knew exactly what it meant to be truly free.